Have you ever thought that your kindness might actually be harming your children? Picture this. You're nearing retirement and want to secure a bright future for your kids. But what if I told you there are 7 things you should avoid giving them for their own benefit? The insights might surprise you. Before we dive in, listen closely to this story, as it will be crucial for grasping the key lesson of this video. Elena, a woman recently retired and eager to support her children, planned to give them money and property, believing this was the best way to ensure their future. Sound familiar? However, just as Elena was about to implement her plans, her wise neighbor, Don Javier, gave her a surprising piece of advice. He gently explained that sometimes giving too much can be like overwatering a plant. Rather than nurturing it, you might end up stifling its growth. Could Elena's well-meaning generosity be setting a trap for her children? Before we continue, if you find these videos helpful, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon to stay updated. Elena, filled with love and good intentions, decided to give Carlos a significant amount of money upon his retirement, excitedly telling him, "Now you can finally live out your dreams." However, what Elena didn't foresee was that this decision would set off a chain of events that would drastically alter Carlos's life. Ecstatic about this unexpected windfall, Carlos chose to quit his job, thinking, why keep working? Unwittingly, he fell into the trap of easy money, where what initially seemed like a blessing soon became a burden. This issue, often referred to as rich heir syndrome, is more common than you might think. In fact, this issue is so prevalent that it even has a term in psychology. Dr. Roy Williams, author of Preparing Your Kids for $1 Billion, points out that 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation and 90% by the third. Why does this happen? Imagine being given a large cake every day. Initially, you'd be delighted, but over time, not only would you lose interest in baking, but you'd also likely face several health issues. Money operates similarly. A psychologist, Abraham Maslow, once noted, "If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail." In Carlos's case, money became his new hammer, and he began to view every problem as solvable with cash. This led him to lose his ability to tackle challenges, grow personally, and find fulfillment through achievement. But there's hope. As the saying goes, teach a man to fish rather than just giving him a fish. Elena could have opted to teach Carlos financial skills and encourage his personal development instead of simply providing him with money. Consider nurturing an entrepreneurial spirit or even starting a business venture together. These approaches would not only offer financial support, but also impart invaluable life lessons. Over 2,000 years ago, philosopher Seneca cautioned against the perils of wealth without wisdom. He said, "It is not the man who has little, but the one who desires more, who is truly poor." Charles had much, but by losing his sense of purpose, he found himself poorer than ever. If you're contemplating giving a substantial gift to your children, ask yourself this: am I providing them with a safety net or a gilded cage? Am I offering a springboard for their dreams or a comfy couch where their ambitions will languish? Remember, the true gift isn't the money itself, but rather the skills and knowledge needed to create, grow, and effectively use it. As the tycoon Warren Buffett wisely said, "I will leave enough money for my children to do something, but not so much that they do nothing." Now, let's explore the pitfalls of gifting properties. Picture this. Elena, recently retired and eager to do something special, decides to surprise her daughter Anna with a gift that seems straight out of a fairy tale. "Darling, I want to give you our beach house. It's all yours now," Elena says. Anna, thrilled, imagines herself enjoying countless afternoons by the sea. But what if this dream turns into a financial headache? As the philosopher Seneca remarked, "It is not the man with little who is poor, but the one who desires more." Anna might soon find herself regretting that seemingly perfect gift. Elena overlooked the hidden costs associated with the property: annual taxes, ongoing maintenance, and unexpected repairs. What was once a dream home quickly became a financial drain on Anna's saving. But let's not jump ahead just yet. This scenario is more common than you might think. In fact, recent research indicates that inherited properties frequently become sources of family disputes. Take the Martinez family. They were once the picture of a close-knit family, until their grandfather passed away and bequeathed them his old house. What was intended as a loving gesture soon turned into a battlefield. Questions about who would cover the repairs, who would live in the house, and whether they should sell it led to heated arguments and strained relationships. Family gatherings shifted from joyful occasions to intense confrontations, and the property that was meant to bring them together ended up driving them apart. That said, gifting property isn't inherently a bad idea. The issue arises when the broader implications aren't considered. The psychologist Abraham Maslow famously said, "If you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail." When you only have a hammer, you tend to view every problem as a nail. In this context, the hammer represents good intentions, but the issue is far more complex than just a single nail. The real key here is financial education. Before giving away property, it's essential to ensure that the recipient is prepared to manage it. Do they have the financial means to maintain it? Are they aware of the responsibilities involved? Have they considered the tax implications? Returning to Elena and Anna's situation, imagine if Elena had involved Anna in the decision-making process instead of just handing over the house. They could have explored various options together, such as selling the property and splitting the proceeds, setting up a fund for its maintenance, or even turning it into a family vacation rental business. Open communication and joint planning could have turned a potential disaster into an opportunity for family growth. As the philosopher Epictetus wisely said, wealth is not about having great possessions, but about having few needs. Perhaps the true gift isn't the property itself, but the lessons in financial responsibility and family communication that can arise from such situations. Returning to Elena's story, despite her best intentions, she had always been there to resolve every issue, from minor school conflicts to major challenges. In Elena's life, she's been the superhero swooping in to save the day, which sounds admirable, doesn't it? But as the saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intention. This approach has a term, helicopter parenting. No, it doesn't involve literal helicopters, though that would be quite amusing. Instead, it describes parents who constantly hover over their children, ready to swoop in and fix any issues that come up. So what's the problem with being so attentive and supportive? Imagine you're at the gym with a personal trainer who, rather than teaching you how to lift weights, lifts them for you. Would you build muscle? Of course not. Similarly, when we handle every problem for our children, we're depriving them of the chance to develop their emotional resilience and problem-solving ability. A study from the University of Florida found something surprising. Young adults raised by overly protective parents often struggle more with the everyday stresses and challenges of life. It's as if we've given them a shield that prevents them from developing the skills they need to face life's difficulties. Instead of giving them a map to navigate life, we've taken away their compass. Returning to Elena, she started noticing something odd. Her eldest son, Carlos, seemed unable to make decisions on his own. Whenever he encountered a work challenge, he would call Elena in a panic. Meanwhile, Anna, the middle child, avoided any situation that might be challenging. The mere thought of moving out or searching for a new job left her paralyzed with fear. And then there's Luis, the youngest, who grew up observing how Elena managed Carlos's crises. Despite her attempts to encourage independence, Elena always found a way to intervene, even when her help wasn't requested. Psychologist Alfredo Oliva notes that while overprotecting may seem like a form of love, it is often driven by fear that our children will suffer or fail. However, failure and struggle are crucial components of learning and personal growth. So what's the solution? Should we simply let our children face every obstacle without support? Not quite. The key is finding a balance. As the philosopher Khalil Gibran wisely said, your children are not your children. Instead of treating them as mere extensions of ourselves, we should support our children within reason when they face difficulty, without taking over. It's like teaching someone to ride a bike. Start with training wheels, then hold the seat and eventually let them pedal on their own. They might fall a few times, but those falls help them learn to balance. Elena decided to adjust her approach. The next time Carlos called with a work issue, instead of providing a solution, she asked him, "What do you think you should do?" With Anna, she began encouraging her to tackle smaller challenges, celebrating each minor success. As for Luis, see how things unfold. Before we continue with the story, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click the bell icon to stay updated on future content. Just as much as I enjoy creating this content, I love reading your comments. Let me know what you'd like to see in future videos. Your feedback is invaluable. Together, we can continue to learn and enhance our lives. Now prepare to uncover how a well-meaning desire to help can inadvertently become a hidden trap in family dynamics. Elena, our central figure, found herself in this predicament without realizing it. After retiring, she believed she had all the wisdom in the world to offer her children. Imagine Elena, with the best intentions, constantly offering advice on every aspect of their lives. Luis, you should consider a new job. Anna, maybe you should move closer. Carlos, that haircut doesn't suit you. These seemingly small suggestions were unknowingly creating an invisible barrier between her and her children. But why does this happen? Why can unsolicited advice be so counterproductive? According to psychologist Dr. Maria Martinez, when we offer advice without being asked, we subtly imply that we don't trust the other person's ability to make their own decisions. That was certainly not Elena's intention. The tipping point came when Luis, Elena's youngest son, chose to distance himself. He was tired of constantly being told how he should live his life. Anna, the middle daughter, started avoiding her mother's calls, and Carlos, the eldest, limited his responses to brief replies. Elena began to sense that something was amiss when she organized a family dinner and only Carlos attended. He revealed that his siblings were intentionally avoiding these gatherings. It was a harsh wake-up call for Elena, but all is not lost. As the philosopher Epictetus wisely said, it is not things that disturb us, but our perceptions of them. Elena decided to take this insight to heart and apply it to her own life. She began practicing the art of listening without judgment. Instead of immediately offering advice whenever her children shared something with her, she started asking questions like, "How do you feel about this?" And, "What do you think would be the best course of action for you?" To her surprise, her children began reaching out to her more frequently. A study from the University of Michigan found that young adults whose parents respected their independence reported greater satisfaction in their family relationship. Elena was heading in the right direction. Key is to strike a balance between being supportive and allowing your children the space to make their own choices. As comedian Jerry Seinfeld put it, sometimes the best advice is to offer none at all. Elena had learned this lesson well. Elena realized that her children didn't need a constant flow of instructions, but rather a listening ear and a supportive shoulder when they needed it. This shift allowed her to have more meaningful and enjoyable conversations with them, without the stress of having to solve all their problems. Have you ever thought that your words might be unintentionally creating a rift between your children? Imagine that every comparison you make, like a small stone, slowly building a wall between siblings. Elena, our retired protagonist, found herself in a situation familiar to many parents. With her 3 children, Luis, Anna, and Carlos, she thought she was equally distributing her love and attention. However, she unknowingly fell into the trap of making comparisons. She would say things like, "Luis, why can't you be more organized like Anna?" And Carlos, "Older brother already had a job at your age." These seemingly innocent remarks were planting seeds of resentment among her children. Psychologist Abraham Maslow once stated that the best way to raise a child is by fostering their individuality. Elena was, perhaps unknowingly, doing the exact opposite. Her constant comparisons were damaging her children's self-esteem and creating friction within the family dynamic. During a family dinner one evening, the mood grew tense when Elena made yet another comparison. Luis finally erupted, saying, "It's always the same. Anna is the perfect one. Carlos is the successful one. And what about me? Family loser?" The silence that followed was palpable. This moment was a wake-up call for Elena, as she realized that her words, rather than inspiring her children, were deeply hurting them. How many parents fall into this trap without even realizing it? Research from the University of Illinois indicates that children who are frequently compared to their siblings often develop higher levels of anxiety and self-esteem issues in adulthood. It's as if every comparison adds another layer to their emotional burdens. Each comparison acted like a brick in an invisible wall dividing siblings. Dr. Alfredo Oliva, a specialist in developmental psychology, points out that sibling comparisons can have severe long-term consequences. They not only impact the relationship between siblings, but also shape their self-perception. Determined to make a change, Elena sought professional guidance and learned that each child has unique strengths and weaknesses. She started to use what psychologists refer to as specific praise, acknowledging each child's individual achievements without making comparisons. For instance, she would say, "Carlos, I'm proud of your perseverance in finding a job you love. Ana, your time management skills are impressive. And Luis, your creativity in the kitchen is incredible." These targeted and personalized comments began to mend the emotional wounds of the past. Although the transformation wasn't instantaneous, Elena gradually noticed a shift in the home environment. The siblings started to support each other rather than competing, and family dinners became filled with laughter instead of tension. As the Roman philosopher Seneca advised, treat those below you as you would like those above you to treat you. Elena embraced this wisdom in her parenting, treating each child with the respect and individuality they deserve. Takeaway is clear. Valuing each child's uniqueness not only boosts their self-esteem, but also fosters a more harmonious and supportive family environment. It's akin to cultivating a garden. Each flower needs its own space and attention to flourish beautifully. Continuing on this note, consider the impact of unrealistic expectations. Expectations are like balloons. Overinflate them, and they burst. Elena, our well-intentioned retiree, believed she was helping by setting lofty goals for her children. Luis as the aspiring artist, Ana as the future lawyer, and Carlos as the soon-to-be successful professional. But what happens when our aspirations turn into a heavy burden for our children? Imagine being Luis, who has always been told by your mother that you have a talent for painting and that you'll be the next Picasso. Yet, what if your true passion lies in music? Every brushstroke becomes a reminder of the expectations you're struggling to meet. The famous psychologist Carl Jung once said, "The shoe that fits one person may be too tight for another." And he was spot on. Elena's expectations, though well-meaning, were constricting her children's dreams to the point of suffocation. A recent study has shown that young people who face unrealistic expectations often experience higher levels of stress. It's like asking them to climb Everest while wearing flip-flops, both impossible and perilous. Ana, Elena's seemingly perfect daughter, began experiencing panic attacks before every exam. The pressure to excel as a lawyer, even before starting college, was overwhelming her. Sound familiar? Even if you're not Elena, you might know someone who's faced similar challenges. Elena was projecting her own unfulfilled dreams onto her children, creating an emotional roller coaster for the whole family. Carlos, the youngest, chose to rebel. Instead of pursuing the entrepreneurial path his mother had envisioned, he signed up for a cooking course. The disappointment in Elena's eyes was clear, but shouldn't she have felt proud that her son was following his genuine passion? It's as if we're giving our children a bit. Wouldn't it be better to give them a compass and allow them to find their own path, rather than a map to a treasure they're not seeking? Psychologist Martin Seligman, pioneer in positive psychology, emphasizes that genuine happiness comes from harnessing our unique strength. But how can our children discover their own strengths if they're preoccupied with meeting our expectations? Elena experienced a moment of clarity during a family dinner when Luis announced he was leaving painting behind to join a rock band. Rather than feeling disappointed, Elena felt a mix of relief and pride. Her son had discovered his true passion. This twist in the story imparts an important lesson. Supporting our children's own aspirations not only enhances their happiness, but also fortifies family relationships. It's like tending to a plant. When you provide the right care, it will flourish naturally. As the renowned pediatrician Dr. Spar once said, "Believe in yourself, you're capable of more than you realize." Maybe it's time to extend that same trust to our children, allowing them to navigate their own path. Elena, our well-meaning retiree, faced a common parental dilemma: feeling taken for granted. The turning point came when her youngest son, Carlos, requested to move back into her home temporarily. "It'll just be for a few months, Mom," he assured her. Elena, with her generous heart, agreed without hesitation. However, those few months stretched into a year, and soon Elena found herself managing laundry, cooking, and cleaning for her 30-year-old son. Instead of feeling like a nurturing mother, she felt more like a housekeeper. Where is the boundary between maternal care and an overstepping of trust? As the philosopher Khalil Gibran wisely noted, your children are not your children. Your children are not possessions. They are individuals on their own journeys. Elena's experience is not unique. Research from the University of Michigan reveals that 25% of retired parents face some form of financial or emotional exploitation from their adult children. Quite startling, isn't it? Psychologist Dr. Laura Markham points out that unconditional love doesn't equate to allowing anything and everything. In reality, establishing healthy boundaries is a form of love. It turns out that saying no can also be an act of caring. Elena came to understand that her well-intentioned efforts were actually impeding Carlos's growth. As the renowned psychologist Carl Jung observed, the shoe that fits one person may be too tight for another. Elena was so focused on being the ideal mother that she failed to see she was limiting Carlos's opportunities. So, what did Elena do next? She decided to have a candid discussion with Carlos. She explained that, while her love for him was unconditional, they needed to establish some boundaries. To her surprise, Carlos responded positively. He too felt constrained by the situation and was unsure how to change it. Together, they devised a plan. Carlos would start contributing to household expenses and manage his own chores, while Elena agreed to step back from his decisions and give him the space to grow. The outcome was a healthier and more balanced relationship. Elena regained her independence, and Carlos gained valuable lessons in responsibility and self-reliance. This experience underscores an important lesson. True love involves setting clear boundaries. It's not about withdrawing love or support, but about fostering your children's growth and independence. But have you ever felt that, despite your best efforts, something still feels lacking in your relationship with your children? Elena was about to find out. Sometimes, the most profound insights can come from the most unexpected sources. Who would have guessed that her neighbor, Don Javier, held an ancient secret capable of shifting Elena's entire perspective? With a heavy heart and a mind filled with uncertainty, Elena decided to seek guidance. She crossed the street and knocked on Don Javier's door, feeling apprehensive. "Don Javier, I need your help," Elena said, her voice trembling. "I feel like I'm losing touch with my children." Don Javier welcomed her with a calm smile. "You've come to the right place," he assured her. "Did you know that the ancient Stoics had valuable advice on parenting?" Elena looked surprised. "Stoics? What could ancient philosophers possibly have to do with my modern issues?" "Well," Don Javier continued, "the Stoics spoke about a concept known as love with detachment. It might seem contradictory, but think of it like holding a bird in your hand. If you grip it too tightly, you'll harm it. If you release it entirely, it will fly away. The key is to hold it gently but firmly, allowing it the freedom to fly." Elena listened intently as Don Javier continued, explaining how the philosopher Epictetus taught that we can't control external events, only our reactions to them. "Imagine your children as young saplings," Don Javier said. "Your role isn't to make them grow, but to create the best environment for them to thrive on their own." "But how can I allow them to face difficulty?" Elena asked. Don Javier smiled and quoted Marcus Aurelius. "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger." He explained that letting your children confront challenges is akin to giving them a vaccine against life's struggle. Elena appeared thoughtful. "Are you suggesting that I should stop helping them?" Don Javier shook his head. "No, Elena. Stoic love isn't about being distant or unfeeling. It's a form of love that honors each person's individuality and responsibility. It's like being the wind beneath their wings, not the pilot of their plane." Elena's mind was racing as these concepts challenged her previous understanding of maternal love. Don Javier went on to explain that Seneca once said the greatest wealth is finding contentment with less. "Isn't it possible," he asked, "that by providing everything for your children, You might be denying them the joy of achieving things on their own. Elena thought back to all the times she had stepped in to solve her children's problems, unintentionally robbing them of important lessons. How can I begin to make a change? Yeah. Don Javier suggested she take small steps. The next time her child asked for help, instead of immediately providing a solution, she should ask them how they think they could handle the situation themselves. What do you think you should do? This question might reveal just how capable your children are. As Elena prepared to leave, Don Javier offered one final piece of wisdom. Remember, Elena, true love isn't possessive. It's like the sun, it shines for everyone, but asks nothing in return. Standing at a crossroads after years of dedicating herself entirely to her children, Elena realized she needed a profound change. Determined, she crafted a plan to transform not only her own life, but also that of her entire family. Imagine redefining your relationship with your adult children. That's exactly what Elena aimed to do. Her first step was to establish clear boundaries. She decided she would no longer be the one to solve all her children's problems. As psychologist Carl Rogers once noted, curious paradox is that when I accept myself as I am, then I can change. Elena recognized that by stopping her constant interventions, she was giving her children the chance to grow. When Elena communicated her new boundaries, the responses were varied. Louise, the artist, was puzzled, while Anna, the lawyer, felt relief, and Carlos, the aspiring chef, initially resisted. "Mom, you've always been there for us," he said. Elena responded with a smile, "And I always will be, but in a different way." As Seneca wisely said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Elena embraced this perspective as she navigated the early difficulty. There were moments of uncertainty and tension, but she remained resolute. One day, Anna called, distraught after losing a significant case in court. Rather than providing solutions, Elena asked, "What do you think you can learn from this experience?" This simple question sparked a deep and meaningful conversation between mother and daughter, strengthening their bond in ways Elena had never anticipated. Psychologist Carol Dweck, with her growth mindset theory, suggests that true potential is revealed when individuals. Elena put this philosophy into action, letting her children face challenges and learn from them. This approach allowed them to build resilience and self-confidence. Over time, she began to see subtle yet meaningful changes. Luis, who once relied on her for decisions, started trusting his own judgment more. Carlos, to Elena's surprise, began hosting dinner parties, preparing elaborate meals himself. "Mom, I want to repay you for everything you've done for me," he said one day, bringing tears of joy to Elena's eyes. A recent study from the University of Michigan found that young adults with supportive and empowering parents report greater life satisfaction. Elena witnessed these benefits in her own family. Although the transformation was neither swift nor easy, every small step forward was a triumph. A year after Elena revamped her approach to her relationships with her children, change was striking. Carlos, who had previously moved back home temporarily, was now living independently and running his own catering business. Anna, initially on the path to becoming a lawyer, had discovered her true passion for psychology and was working towards a master's degree in family therapy. The once frustrated artist was now gaining traction as a member of a local band. However, the impact of these changes went beyond just career achievement. Elena's new approach, which involved setting clear boundaries and fostering independence, had profoundly enhanced family relationships in ways she hadn't anticipated. As psychologist Carl Rogers noted, the most meaningful learning happens when individuals discover and embrace it for themselves. Elena had come to understand this lesson through experience, and the positive outcomes were evident. Family dinners, which used to be fraught with tension and subtle comparisons, had evolved into times of genuine connection. During one such dinner, Louise joked, "Remember when Mom thought I'd be the next Picasso? Turns out I'm more MC Jagger than Van Gogh, and I couldn't be happier." This new family dynamic not only improved individual relationships, but also fostered an environment of mutual respect and understanding. For instance, Anna was applying her psychology expertise to help with Carlos's business marketing strategy. Elena had come to grasp the true meaning of letting go and allowing her children to chart their own paths. This approach led her to a more genuine and satisfying way of mothering. According to a recent Harvard University study, young adults raised in environments that encourage independence and responsibility are 40% more likely to report high levels of life satisfaction. Elena was witnessing these benefits in her own family. Perhaps the most profound change was in Elena herself. She no longer felt the burden of solving all her children's problems or directing their lives. Instead, she had evolved into a supportive and wise presence, someone her children sought for guidance, but not for ready-made answers. In her diary, Elena reflected on a profound realization. The true gift she could offer her children wasn't money, property, or ready-made solutions. Instead, it was self-confidence, capability to tackle their own challenges, and the reassurance that she would always be there to support them, without living their lives for them. This journey wasn't without its difficulty. There were doubts, intense discussions, and tears. However, as psychologist Viktor Frankl wisely noted, when we cannot change a situation, we are called upon to change ourselves. This is precisely what Elena and her family had achieved. Elena discovered that it's not about providing endless financial support, giving away property, or solving all their problems. Nor is it about offering unsolicited advice, making comparisons, or imposing unrealistic expectations. The real gift lies in fostering independence and responsibility while offering love within healthy boundaries. As psychologist Abraham Maslow put it, the most effective way to raise a child is to support the development of their individuality. Reflect on your own family dynamics. Are you equipping your children with the tools they need to thrive, or are you keeping them confined in a protected but limiting environment? Remember, true love isn't about doing everything for them, but rather preparing them to stand on their own. If you've made it this far, drop true love in the comments to let me know you've reached the end of the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate notifications so you can stay updated with similar content in the future. Share this video with your loved ones so they can benefit from this wisdom as well. If you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming an exclusive member. I'll include the link in the comments for you to explore. Also, I'm working on an ebook that will be available soon. I'll update you with the link once it's ready for purchase. Click on this video to keep feeding your mind with valuable insights. Sending a big hug, and see you next time.